rain's a bit of a bummer. You don't think of Southern California as being a wet place, but if anything, I just feel like I'm at home.
I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. This kicks off a look back at a short visit to Southern California, with multiple coaster stops in the San Diego area. Before getting into those coasters though, a bonus day was added at the start of the trip in a different city for some exploration and a night of hockey with a friend. As the SeaWorld chain had been announcing the opening of their coasters, I had a feeling I could easily get to one of them because of its West Coast location, so I started watching for when Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego would be opening. Another draw to the area came from the rebranding of the Aquatica water park in Chula Vista to Sesame Place, which saw the addition of multiple rides, including a new coaster, so I knew I'd want to stop there for the credit as well. The plan was to fly down Tuesday morning, hit one of the parks that day, and the other park the following day before flying home in the evening, with some possible San Diego culture stops along the way. But as the trip came closer, and while it was occurring, there would be multiple changes to those plans. The first changes would be the day that I'd fly down, and which of the California airports I would fly into, as I wasn't quite getting all the way to San Diego.
So this trip wasn't originally about going to see a hockey game. What? It wasn't. Allow me to explain.
As I began searching for things to do, I looked into the possibility of a minor league hockey game, which eventually led to the discovery that the Los Angeles Kings would be hosting none other than the Seattle Kraken the night before my planned arrival. So I shot a message to my friend Gregg from Park Journey, who's a big Kings fan, and he said that going to that game had to happen. So that led to the rebooking of the flight a day sooner and into Los Angeles instead of San Diego. Making this change also gave me a chance to take my first flight aboard a brand new Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. This variation of the 737 will always be special to me, as they were the most common type to come off their assembly line in Renton, Washington, during the 4 years that I lived right across the street from the airfield where they take off for their first flight. If you've ever noticed with my little plane love pat tradition while boarding, sometimes I give an extra tap to the upper door frame. That's because on the 737s, there's a little plate that gives manufacturing information for that aircraft, including where it was built. Older 737s, like this 737-800 I flew in Argentina, says Seattle, Washington, since the factory is located just outside of the Seattle city limits. Newer 737s, though, have Renton listed since that's the actual city the factory is located. That little extra tap I give is a small tribute to my old hometown. Even though I don't reside there anymore, I still do this on every 737 flight. The plane for this flight to Los Angeles was the 737 MAX 9 and featured the newest seating that Alaska is installing in their aircraft.
It's all new and shiny.
It's certainly not an unusual occurrence for there to be fog when departing from Seattle this time of year, and even combined with the higher clouds to make a rather interesting view of Mount Rainier on the way south. It's also not too uncommon to fly above the clouds in the Pacific Northwest, but what I wasn't fully prepared for was to have the clouds continue south, all the way into Los Angeles. The low clouds also disguise that we approached LAX from the Pacific side, which is rather unusual as I've only experienced approaching from further inland and taking off toward the coast. It was also bizarre to be in Los Angeles and to see a fairly heavy rain. But regardless, I made it and caught the flyaway bus from the airport to Union Station, as my hotel that night was closer to downtown for the game, and the train to San Diego in the morning.
You know, the rain's a bit of a bummer. You don't think of Southern California as being a wet place, but anything, just feel like I'm at home.
After the bus ride to Union Station, I grabbed a Metro day pass and hopped on for a couple stops to get within walking distance of the hotel. But boy, did that walk quickly become a mistake.
So I had seen that it was supposed to rain here in Los Angeles, and I came prepared because I brought my raincoat, and it turns out that this stuff was really heavy. So right now I am soaked. My bags are soaked. Everything's just completely wet. But the good news, though, is that the Wayfarer hotel where I'm staying for tonight had a room available. I think I'm just going to chill for a little bit and quasi-dry out, or maybe wring some stuff out a bit so that I can not be totally drenched.
The room was nice, and I was very appreciative of getting a chance to take a short nap before exploring, although there was something that made it a little tricky to get comfortable. While there was still a bit of rain upon venturing out to explore, it would become a bit more scattered, and there were periods where the clouds broke to let some sunshine through. After drying out a bit, I headed back to the Metro again and went further into downtown Los Angeles, stopping first at one of the more historic modes of transportation in the city, Angels Flight Railway. This narrow-gauge funicular railway dates back to 1901, when it first operated on a different part of Bunker Hill, before being dismantled in 1969 and rebuilt in its current location 27 years later. The funicular takes you up a vertical climb of 96 feet to a plaza on Bunker Hill along 298 feet of track. Up top, you can get some neat views of downtown and the neighboring park space. While you could just walk back down the hill, it's nicer to enjoy a ride back on Angel's Flight. And at $1 per ride, it's quite affordable. This is a very convenient location to get hungry, because across South Hill Street from the lower station is Grand Central Market, an emporium of various goods, food, and entertainment. The main dining space offers a colorful piece of neon light artwork that pays tribute to the neon signs of the past, with several references to Los Angeles culture. But you cannot sit here for long without noticing all the delightful scents of food being cooked. And being in a city with a rich Hispanic heritage, I thought I would try a burrito from Roast to Go Antojitos Mexicanos. I also grabbed a Golden State Cerveza from the LA-based Golden Road Brewing. This turned into a wonderful pairing, as not only was the beer a delight, but that carnitas burrito could have possibly been the best burrito I've ever had. After lunch, I went on a stroll that led me to City Hall. I had read about the observation deck it features and how it was free to visit, so I thought it would be a neat way to see the city from a different point of view. But there was one problem.
So I forgot that some things in California are a little bit behind with reopening after the pandemic, so unfortunately the observation tower and City Hall itself are not open.
So I walked around a bit more and saw some of the more interesting architecture nearby, including the Spanish-influenced architecture around Olvera Street, although the area is far more lively on the weekends. As the rain threatened to pick back up, I thought it was a good time to head back to the hotel to freshen up a bit for the game. But I wanted to take advantage of one of the perks at staying at the Wayfarer Hotel: free beer. You can enjoy 2 complimentary beverages with your stay during the early evening, although I really only had time for one, so I chose a nice Bohemian Pilsner from East Brothers Beer Company of Richmond, California. Then it was time to head over for the game.
Well, it figures that the rain would pick back up as I'm about ready to walk through the arena. But again, feels like home, so I'm going to hope for a home advantage for the Kraken tonight.
This would be my first event at Crypto.com Arena. And one of the really neat features on the outside of the building were the statues that paid tribute to the legends of Los Angeles sports, from past members of Lakers basketball to the former greats of Kings hockey, including the great one, Wayne Gretzky. The tributes to LA legends continues inside the building, with the championship banners and retired numbers for both the Lakers and Kings, something that you don't see much yet back at Climate Pledge Arena, although this is still the first season for the Kraken. There was also a bit of a fun coincidence for two friends who were involved in theme park content creation, as this game was sponsored by none other than Knott's Berry Farm. Speaking of the game, there was a short period as they prepared for opening face-off where I thought it was at a rave rather than a hockey game, with all the lasers and lights. Definitely a different kind of pre-game hype-up from what I had seen at past hockey games, but still cool to see. I also love the Kings' abundant use of the organ for much of the in-game music and fan engagement. It gave a classic feel to the event. The fun continued on into the actual game itself. Well, it was fun for one of us. Just 14 seconds after that face-off, Alex Wenberg struck first for the Kraken to give them an early 1-0 lead. It only lasted a bit more than 5 minutes, as Arthur Kaliev would tie it up for the Kings at 1 each, so it looked like it was going to be a close game. The Kraken would regain the lead a few minutes later as Adam Larson got the next tally, and the first would end with a 2-1 score. The second period was a tad quieter as there was only a goal from Victor Rask to give Seattle a 3-1 advantage. But then it got ugly in the final period as the Kraken would get not 1, not 2, but 3 more goals in the third, with the final goal of the game being the ugliest as Daniel Sprong took a shot that bounced off the face of Jordan Spence before crossing the line. That goal may have best symbolized the ugliness of the game for the Kings, and I had a hunch that Gregg was going to start a petition to have me banned from the state of California after that one. But I believe we were both in agreement that it was great just getting to enjoy a game together, and I certainly appreciate his arranging it so that we could. It was definitely worth taking an extra day to come and have a chance to explore part of Los Angeles I hadn't seen yet, and to join a friend while adding another NHL arena to the list of those attended. But I had an early morning ahead of me, as I'd be catching the early train south to pick up the trip from where the original itinerary began. Thank you for watching this Coasting with Culture video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button below to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.